Hello and welcome everyone to the Sports Doin with me Kushag, and we are here for a look at the Premier League. Today joining me are Sushil, Sulaksh and Pratnesh. We are going to have an interesting season here, and we are already having an interesting season here. And this match week looks to have thrown up quite odd fixtures in a sense, and also of course there is the standout fixture of Manchester United versus Arsenal. But as they say, let's save the best for last. And let's start with a fixture which not many people must have thought would be an interesting fixture when the fixture list had come out. That is Leeds versus Leicester. Now, Leeds being a newly promoted team, this should ideally have been one of those matches in which Leicester could continue their away record, their 100% away record and but things haven't turned out exactly in that manner for Leeds and for the teams who have played Leeds. So we'll go straight away. We'll go to Sulaksh here. Sulaksh, what do you think about this game? How do you think it will pan out? And how have you seen the whole Bielsa effect on the Premier League?
Yeah, so Leeds United have been a total surprise package, but it's something that if you've been following football keenly and the championship, it's been expected because last year when they could not make the promotion to the Premier League, a lot of people were upset and surprised at how Bielsa could not manage it. Of course, he's stayed at the club, he's managed to bring them up, and they've been outstanding, right from the first week going toe to toe with the champions of England to getting good home draw against City and beating the likes of Aston Villa who were flying high. So Leeds have been on a good run. But Leicester, on the other hand, are the inform away team this season. So it's going to be a mixed bag and it's going to be a high flying game. It's important to look at Leicester's form outside of the win against Arsenal because I think Leicester have been rather unimpressive in the games that they have not turned up in, especially that 1-0 loss to Aston Villa at home. I
Yes.
think they were very flat, and I think when they went to Arsenal, they had a very simple game plan. They held the game till 60 and 70 minutes. Unfortunately, a lot of things went into their favor, and Arsenal were completely horrible in the second half. We could not hold up the ball. We couldn't get a shot on target. So Leicester took advantage of that. Jamie Vardy and Bamford, that's the battle I'm looking forward to because I think that's Premier League experience, someone who's seen it, someone who would be relishing the chance to play a promoted team versus Bamford, who's been around the block. He's not had his time at Chelsea and now he's looking to prove that point and show that he's a league player. So I think a couple of points that I'd like to end with is that Bielsa versus Rogers would be a very good tactical battle, but I think Bielsa is the better manager, although Rogers is playing with a better squad. It's gonna be an interesting one to see. It's gonna be high scoring. I'm gonna go with a 2-all, or yeah, I'm gonna go with a 2-all prediction.
Yeah, talking of Leicester there, Sushil, Sushilaks did mention about Brendan Rodgers, and he also mentioned Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy did not start the match versus Arsenal, but the moment he came on, there was this sense of inevitability with him, and that basically happens in most of their matches. Beyond Vardy, we saw the debut, or like not the debut, but a small part played by sorry, small amount of time that Cengiz Under was on the pitch, and he was quite impressive there as well. So
Yes,
how
yeah.
do you see this Leicester side shaping up against Leeds? Because I can see Rodgers going extremely defensive and trying to
Mm.
hit Leeds on the break, sort of thing, conceding possession to them, but keeping his fast players in reserve.
I think one thing, and let's not forget Leicester and Leeds. Leicester is fourth in the table. I think Leeds is what, fifth or sixth. Uh, these are
Yes.
these are teams that have done very well since the start of the season. I think the one thing that I hope Rogers doesn't do going into this game is think that he can outsmart Marcelo Bielsa tactically, right? That's probably unlikely to happen. Um, Rogers does have the more gifted squad, um,
Yes.
so I think he'll probably that'll reflect in the way he plays the game. I think you'll see them more relying on Jamie Vardy's pace because of the way Bielsa plays. Maybe that'll be an asset. And I don't know about Under whether he'll start. I think He started midweek in the game or something.
He came
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
He came
yeah.
on to our
Yeah,
He
he
debut.
came
came,
on.
he
So
came
so
on versus Arsenal, and I think he
right,
started the Europa League game.
Oh, he
Yeah,
started
right,
the Europa League game.
at right wing back.
yeah. So I don't know if he has enough faith to play him in this game. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. We'll see. Uh, Even if he does start, I don't know if he's going to be the player that influences the game. For me, someone who I think will be really important for Leicester in general this season, and who's done decently for them this so far, is Yuri Tielemans from midfield. I think he's exactly the kind of player they were missing, in previous before he joined, and I think he'll be the key for them in this game as well. I don't know if you want me to give you my prediction now or later.
You can go ahead and give your prediction.
I think it'll be a 1-0 for Leicester. They'll keep
Oh,
it.
Oh,
no scoring.
they'll do Leeds the same way they did Arsenal, huh?
I think the squad is just more experienced. They know how to grind out these wins. But
Yeah.
with Bielsa, maybe he'll pull something out of the bag. But we'll see. 1-0 for me.
All right. So from Bielsa Pratnesh to a man who considers Bielsa as almost as his footballing godfather, sort of a thing. It hasn't been a very good domestic start for the citizens here. They're languishing in the bottom half of the table with just 8 points after 5 games, and now they have the not unenvious task of going away to Sheffield United. So, uh, how do you think Manchester City will line up, and how do you think they'll be able to counter the Sheffield team, which, mind you, had a very impressive performance against Liverpool, and yes, their position in the league table is even worse than Man City's. I think they're second from bottom, just
Yeah.
above Burnley. But still, we know that there is a lot in that squad, and they're not a squad worthy of being in the relegation zone.
Yeah.
So how do you think this match will go?
Yeah, I think coming first to the league table, I don't think the league table really matters until you go into December in this season at least. I think with Sheffield, what we saw during the Liverpool game was shades of what happened with Sheffield last season, wherein you could see that organized structure, you could see how well each and every player was coached and how to play at every position. The fact that Chris Wilder finished second in the manager of the season list last season probably showed on the pitch that day, wherein you could see there was a lot of determination to win second balls. There was a lot of determination to run Liverpool for the victory rather than giving them one on a silver platter. I think that is something which Sheffield have been doing at the start of the season, but their work rate was really impressive against Liverpool. With City, I think again it becomes a case of you know they have been playing a kind of an hit and miss season themselves, wherein one game they are just difficult to handle, and the other game they will bore you to death and possibly bore themselves into a draw or a defeat. So probably with City, what seems to be going wrong right now is that they're not able to find that perfect. You could possibly say a false nine kind of replacement for Sergio Aguero, because Aguero would be a proper striker. But if you remember the game last season where City played United at Old Trafford in the Carabao Cup, and they played with two false nines essentially with Bernardo and I guess it was David Silva. So that is something that they've been looking to do, but that hasn't happened. Probably if Ferran is better suited to play a more central role than coming off the side. He will offer a little bit more striker instinct uh, that extra bit of bite in the central area. So that is where they have to look. But they have a good record against Sheffield. They've kept 6 clean sheets in a row against Sheffield United. So that's a
Yeah.
good sign for them.
All right. Just wrapping this up. What about you? What do you think? How do you think the match will go? Do you think it'll be an easy win for City?
Yeah, yeah, it would not be an easy win, no way, because as we saw last game, Chris Wilder is almost look as if he's back now, and it would be easy for us to say that City might just turn up and play their hit football, but the physicality with which Chris Wilder's team play, it's going to be difficult in midfield. It's going to be difficult it's going to be difficult when they go forward, and they are in these one-on-one situation where most of the Sheffield defenders are okay to give a foul, and then they're good at defending set pieces as well. So coming to the scoreline, I feel probably I would go for a 2-1 to City, but City might just edge it, but then it's going to be an incredibly difficult game for them, especially away at Bramall Lane.
All right. I think I would echo your thoughts there, Pratmesh. I think it'll be a difficult game for Man City, and these are the kind of banana peels they kind of tend to slip up on. So, as far as the prediction is concerned, my only question again remains is, as you mentioned yourself, who plays striker, and if they do not go with the system, wherein they do that, then play a striker, then I think the intricacy of the City midfielders would really hurt Sheffield United, and because there'll be no real directness in their attack apart from Raheem Sterling, no one with out and out pace to run at the Sheffield defense. So I think they might end up scoring a couple more. I think it might end up being a 3 or a 4-1. So yeah, I predict City to get all 3 points regardless. Moving on, we have the table toppers. Unusual position that Everton find themselves in. They had a very disappointing result last week against Southampton, and also managed to get Digne sent off, which means that he'll be missing this match. Though I felt that it was a little harsh, but still. And they play a team in Newcastle, which is very difficult to predict actually, because they were poor against Manchester United, while they were actually pretty worthy of their point against Wolves. So Sulaksh, how do you think this game will go? Because Newcastle, it's an unknown quantity, and Everton have to bounce back. They have to show their mettle, and Ancelotti has to demand. I'm sure he demands a response from the squad.
Well, Everton got a real comeback down to earth kind of moment last week when they lost to Southampton, and I think it wasn't one of those unlucky losses where you can put it down to the day, or maybe a striker or defender had a bad day. They were overall looking like the Everton we are used to seeing, and that's something that is a little bit scary if you're an Everton fan, because obviously you don't have like the expectations of winning the league or actually challenging for it, or maybe you do but not realistically. But I mean, to be turned over so easily by Southampton, especially in that first half, was surprising. I think it's gonna be a mixed bag. Southampton haven't been on the best of runs, but they came and I mean, kind of made Everton look like the Everton of old. And Newcastle, I can see. I mean, they're a similar team. Steve Bruce knows what he's doing sometimes, and they have a good pool of talent. I mean, I love Saint Maximin. I love when he's on the wing, he's unstoppable, and they have good attacking options. It's the defense that I'm worried about, because Everton have a lot to offer. Southampton were pretty solid, and they have a manager who knows how to set up a team to be solid. So can Steve Bruce match that, and can he keep the likes of James Rodriguez and Dominic Calvert-Lewin quiet? Because that was very important in the first half in their previous game. Newcastle are coming into the game with a draw, and they are, I mean, they're looking like Newcastle of old. I'm sorry, I can't break down Newcastle anymore, because they've been always a mixed bag since they've come back up. Since they've been promoted back up, they've not been the Newcastle of old where you expect them to challenge for the Europa League spaces and like give everyone else a hard time. They've kind of shifted to a lower mid-table club. So I would predict a scoreline of Newcastle at home, right?
Yeah.
So Newcastle 1, Everton 2, and I think it'll not be one of the most interesting games of the game week.
Yeah, I completely agree there. I don't think we can expect a really good game from this. Sushil, how do you expect Everton to respond to their first defeat of the season, and a potential threat to their position at the top of the table as
Um, I think overall I echo more or less what Sulak said. The only thing I'd like to emphasize is um, Everton. Okay. I was going to say something hyperbolic, but maybe it's not.
No, no,
But
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Carlo Ancelotti is probably the greatest or one of the greatest Everton managers ever, in the sense that he's the most talented manager ever. So I think we should also start looking at Everton from that lens now. They're a team that have a serious manager and they're a team that have serious players. So I do expect them to bounce back this game. If they don't, then that probably means Carlo has a lot more work to do than he
Yeah.
expects. Um, but I think they will, like Sulak said, they will bounce back this game. And Newcastle, in particular, after they haven't really had the best of runs the last few games. So I can see them not being as tricky as people anticipate. I think a lot of people are going to be captaining Dominic Calvert-Lewin this weekend.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
but the more serious question though, is whether
yeah.
Jordan Pickford in goal is going to carry a few bodyguards with him.
Yes.
Oh, he should carry bodyguards. He
I
should
think
carry
there'll be snipers positioned around the stadium, looking out for unusual activity.
I think it's an odd situation he finds himself in. He's a Sunderland boy going to the Newcastle ground, and anyway, the entire a lot of football fans hate him. But yeah, Sushil, you're also going for an Everton win, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going for an Everton win 2-0. Dominic
All
Calvert
right.
double.
Oh, all right, all right. That would make a lot of FPL players happy.
I
Yeah.
know.
But yeah, from Everton to the other team on Merseyside, out of sheer continuity purposes, I'll go to Pratmesh for this. Pratmesh, you know which team I'm going to ask you about. I'm going to definitely ask you about West Ham because we have Steve here, of course. So, so how do you see the wonder, the marvel that is David Moyes? How do you see his team performing? And I know I'm being a little sarcastic, and he's not deserved that. His team performed well, actually admirably well this season, and
Yeah.
Suchek and in a couple of other players, he's found a system that works. He's found a system that can hurt teams, whether they're big teams or small teams. So, do you think West Ham have any shot against Liverpool at Anfield of all places?
Going to a ground where Liverpool have been unbeaten for what 61 games now in the Premier League.
62.
62. So that's going to be incredibly tough. But talking about the wonder of David Moyes, and we give him a lot of stick for what he did at United, but I think he's been doing a commendable job, especially since the start of the season at West Ham. It's pretty visible, and all the credit does go down to Declan Rice and the way that midfielder plays. But I think it's been more down to Suchek and Antonio, who have really held their guard in midfield and at centre forward and done really well. And a glimpse of that was probably the goal that they scored against City. So I think in that sense, it does look like West Ham have a structure right now where they want to build in on certain game plans, and they look threatening when they go ahead. And obviously when you have the likes of Lanzini who can create moments out of nowhere, so it's always a good option to have going on the counter attack. With Antonio, there's someone who has possibly one of the best hold up plays in as center forward and as a striker. He's found his groove again. And with Suchek, they'll always have this set Liverpool. So they do have the ammunition. It's not that they're going in there completely hopeless. But then most teams, even when they go to Anfield with a lot of ammunition, come up with hopeless results. So I can firmly see a Liverpool win, probably a 3 or a 4-0 as well, because I don't think Jurgen Klopp is the kind of guy who's going to let them relax after a 2-1 victory. He's probably going to keep them going, and we might see a little Salah magic against West Ham at Anfield, because Salah has had a good record against West Ham in general as well. So
All right. So you're going for a Liverpool win. I
yeah,
think that's a fairly understandable stance to take. I'll of course come back to you, Sushil.
Yeah.
There are just a couple of questions that I would like to put forward to you. One of them primarily being, this is a player that I am at least excited about for seeing him in the Premier League. That's Said Benrahma. And I felt that was actually a very shrewd signing for West Ham. And if David Moyes is able to utilize him, I think after Dimitri Payet, this would be the best signing in terms of an out and out goal scorer and an out and out creative player. I think after Dimitri Payet, this would be the best signing for West Ham. So, and of course, I think it'll be his debut against you guys. So, how do you think this is gonna go, and how do you think this is gonna pan out? Because
I think
it's,
I'm
we.
going to
it's,
slightly,
it's
I'm going to slightly differ
Yeah.
here. I'm going to add Suchek to the list as well.
Mhm.
Suchek's already there, of course. Suchek, Benrahma, and I would say Declan Rice has been good, and Mark Noble has been decent. They've got Aaron
Mikel
Cresswell,
Antonio. We got
Mikel
Antonio.
and yeah,
No,
Mikel Anton.
since we were talking about West Ham signings, I mean,
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, but in terms of dangerous players, I think West Ham have a fair few dangerous players. So any kind of worries that you might have going into this game?
My biggest worry for this game is Mikel Antonio without Virgil van Dijk to, you
Right.
know,
Head the ball in.
yeah. Um, I
Any updates on Fabinho? I think is he definitely out
I
for a
think
month?
it's just a month. Yeah, just a
Month?
month.
Oh.
So he should be back before the Christmas fixtures, which is good, which is when you
Yeah, I
need.
think I think you'll get 2 weeks out of that in the international break as well. So you'll be
Yeah,
fine with
yeah.
that.
So, and typically what I've noticed, just before we get back to the game, typically what I've noticed is Liverpool, I don't know what magic the physios do, but the injuries to our players tend to last less. Players tend to come back onto the pitch much faster. Allison was supposed to be out for a month. He was back in 2 weeks. So I don't know what they do, but if I did,
A
you know,
bit of the Catalan magic, is
yeah, possibly. I don't think Pep Guardiola shares trade secrets, but
it?
either way, I'm hopeful that although the tentative timeline is 4 to 6 weeks, it'll probably end up being 3 to 4. Let's see. So maybe early December.
All
Um,
right.
fact that we've had a good start of the Champions League means we have some leeway there. So anyway, back to the game. Um, with West Ham, as I was saying, my main concern is Antonio. I think he's had a decent start of the season, and particularly given our deficiencies at this point due to the injuries we've had, I think that'll be the key threat coming in from West Ham. And while there are a lot of creative players in that team, I think Liverpool struggle with locking down creative players. It's more these aerial threats sometimes, which you didn't notice because Van Dijk's been doing what he was doing for the last 2 or 3 seasons. But before that, if you remember, it was a huge.
Yes.
So I'll be interested to see if that surfaces again. On the other side of the pitch, well, before I go to the other side of the pitch, I think something we discussed last week was who's going to be starting at centre back now. And I think Klopp has made his play rather clear. I think it's going to be Reece Williams rather than what I was saying, Jordan Henderson. Uh,
Yeah.
there's a lot of faith in the guy, so I think it's likely that he's the one who's going to start. Um, the other side of the pitch, I think West Ham actually, if you look at the XG stats since the start of the season, the expected goals conceded by West Ham is actually in the top 5. So they're pretty solid defensively. That's partially because they haven't really played any of the bigger teams apart from City, who look toothless. And it's also partly because they've improved a lot defensively. So I see Liverpool taking a more probably what they did against Sheffield, a more measured approach to the game rather than going out all guns blazing. I think they'll probably try to keep it 0-0 till halftime, ease the tire the team out a little bit, and then maybe go in for the kill around 50, 60, 70 minutes. So overall, I see maybe a 1-0 2-1 kind of situation, similar to what we had with Sheffield United. Um, and yeah, I mean, this will, if we win, it'll be one of the longest, or in the club history, it'll be the longest unbeaten streak at home. So I think that's another fine record for this team to add, and I hope they actually see it through. Don't see.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sushil and Pratmesh, for joining me here. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and apart from Sulaksh, hope the teams that you support win. So, yeah.
No, we'll win.
Uh,
We'll win in the Europa League. So I felt happy.
Oh yeah. You got Dundalk. Yeah.
By the
I
way,
guess
Tottenham are losing right now.
they're
Yeah,
losing. That's always hilarious. Always hilarious to watch Jose
No,
get
no,
what
no, no, no. We're not
Jose
going to
get what
Jose.
he
Okay,
doesn't
let's
probably
not go
deserve.
there.
We're not
Let's
going to
not go
Jose.
there. Let's not go there. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, boys. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next week. And thank you so much to all of you viewers. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Share, spread the love. Write in comments. Do tell us what do you think the Premier League fixtures are going to turn out as. And once again, we'll see you next week.